The education world today is often plagued by trending literacy approaches. They seek to move students forward, and teachers, schools, and districts are quick to latch onto them as they claim they're the next best thing. However, these ideas aren't always as good as they initially seem. It's really important that we research and synthesize the literature behind these programs and ideologies to ensure that we are really doing what is best for our students. In recent years, balanced literacy has become one of these hot topic ideas as the reading wars have continued to debate which method of literacy instruction is the most effective. The philosophy behind balanced literacy seeks to blend skill-based and meaning-based literacy instruction, allowing students to receive the best of both worlds. Along with the ideas of balanced literacy, there is a consensus that individualized, leveled reading is a necessity. Therefore, students are benchmarked and assigned a level where they can decode, comprehend, and make meaning of text. However, what happens when a child is at the library or bookstore and baskets are not present with leveled stickers? Is the child able to select a book that is a good fit for them? I am interested in knowing the answers to these questions by researching what is the difference in reading growth between students who are provided a reading level and books to read at that level, and students who are taught to use iPick to select their own good fit books. Through the use of historical, theoretical, and contemporary perspectives, my literature review provides a comprehensive overview of how literacy instruction has evolved into the balanced literacy approach with a specific focus on guided reading and the leveled reading aspect. The ideologies surrounding how we teach children to read have varied through the centuries. At the forefront of many of these principles has been the need for leveled text that students can read. As far back as the 1800s, reading scaffolds can be traced from the Webster's Blueback Speller, which focused on recitation, handwriting, and orthography, to the, as Fry would call them, first leveled text, the McGuffey readers. 100 years later, the look-say approach took center stage as Dick and Jane were introduced with a focus of repeated, high-frequency readings. It was common practice through the beginning of the 1900s to level text according to age or grade level. However, during the 1920s, more sophisticated modes of leveling began, which also spurred the development of standardized tests. Building on the high-frequency approach introduced with Dick and Jane, the whole word approach took precedence from the 1930s to the 1990s. The whole word approach focused more on meaning-making. Algorithms were devised which chose the high-frequency words and how and when they were introduced. Along with high-frequency books came the introduction of basals. According to Rogge and Burton, basal programs contained strictly controlled vocabulary that was introduced in a prescribed sequence, often teaching children only a core of sight words rather than working on decoding strategies. The basal remained popular for many years as it included objectives, activities, and evaluations, making planning and teaching simpler. However, the basal and the whole word approach in general were eventually met with a lot of pushback, as many claimed that they, 1, did not meet the individual needs of students, and 2, they produced artificial teaching as teachers became dependent on the scripted manuals and cookie-cutter curriculum. With the criticism of whole word, it was once again time for a change. This led to the introduction of decodable texts. Like whole word, the vocabulary in decodable text is controlled. However, letter-sound relationships govern the selection of the vocabulary. These books are created based off of the alphabetic principle, making it easy for readers to break apart the sounds to read the word successfully. As a result, meaning is often lost in order to maintain predictable patterns and decodable words. Due to the ever-growing debate over best practices to teaching reading, Congress stepped in to create the National Reading Panel in 1997. Through the review and evaluation of effective reading programs and literature, the NRP found that there were 5 areas of instruction that were critical to student reading success: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and text comprehension. Therefore, decodable texts alone were not enough. Students had to be able to make meaning as well from what they were reading. So, level texts were introduced. Level text provided a new spin on decodable texts. Rather than simply forming tests based off of word decodability, they were based on these 5 areas of instruction and included multiple aspects. Leveled text really took off with the introduction of the tutoring intervention program Reading Recovered Leveled Literacy Intervention, created by famed literary gurus Fountas and Pinnell. This program is based on the idea that in order to construct deep meaning from a text, the student must be able to process it effectively. Eventually, Fountas and Pinnell adapted the LLI leveling system to be used in general education classrooms. Level text and the F&P leveling systems remain at the forefront of reading instruction today. As the history shows, the way in which we teach children to read has evolved over the years. With a deeper evaluation, the different methods can be divided into 2 main categories of instruction: the skills-based approach and the meaning-based approach. The skills-based approach is centered around the utilization of explicitly taught skills. Many experts, including Chall, would argue that explicit systematic phonics instruction is critical in order for children to learn to read and write. These experts believe that the learning to read skills such as phonemic awareness, phonics, and fluency are the most important skills for reading, and that they are not learned naturally. Rather, instruction in these areas must be systematic in that it progresses through small steps that are specifically planned for and taught. Without a systematic approach, these skills will not be mastered. Many theorists point out that supporters of the skills-based approach hold to the belief that when reading instruction is systematic and explicit, reading skills are acquired at higher levels. Therefore, they believe that teachers need to strategically plan and instruct students in the areas of phonics, phonemic awareness, and fluency. In addition to learning to read skills such as phonics, phonemic awareness, and fluency, there are reading to learn skills including vocabulary acquisition and text comprehension. These skills are needed to make meaning of what is being read. However, many believe that these skills cannot be explicitly taught but are rather learned indirectly through a child's experiences with reading. The meaning-based approach thus suggests that young children naturally construct ideas and act out reading and writing behaviors as they interact with their environment. Therefore, supporters of this outside-in approach to reading believe that children need to have authentic experiences such as conversations about literature, opportunities to listen to others read, and choice in independent reading in order to truly learn to read and write. In recent decades, with the creation of the National Reading Panel and in the introduction of whole language, decodable text, and level text, the reading wars have broken out debating which method of instruction is the most effective in predicting reading development. On one side of this debate are those who support decodable text and the skills-based approach, while the other side is comprised of those supporting the whole word method and meaning-based approach. As the debate has progressed, educators and researchers on both sides have come to agree that there are essential elements that must be taught and learned in order for a student to be a successful reader and writer. Among these are phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, oral language, writing, concepts about prints, and letter name knowledge. Additionally, with the reauthorization of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act and the need for differentiated instruction, there has been a push for reading teachers to adapt instruction to individual learner needs, not what a manual may say or what other reading programs advocate. With both of these realizations, educators and researchers have developed a solution to the debate. This compromise has been termed the balanced literacy approach and seeks to encourage a blend of the skill-based and meaning-based approaches, meeting each learner's individual needs through both systematic and holistic methods of instruction. Balanced literacy has been defined as a philosophical perspective that seeks to combine or balance skill-based and meaning-based instruction in order to ensure positive reading and writing skills in children. It has also been described as a balanced program that emphasizes phonological awareness, language development, and a comprehensive embedded in a literature-based approach. Therefore, balanced literacy is based in scaffolded instruction where teachers provide varying degrees of support and instruction to students based on their individual needs. Educators supporting the balanced literacy approach recognize that they have a dual commitment to first ensure that students are receiving daily instruction and decoding skills in other areas of systematic instruction, and secondly, guarantee students have access to literature experiences, allowing them to construct meaning. In order to maintain this dual commitment, educators have developed specific instructional routines that are unique to balanced literacy. Among these routines are guided reading, shared reading, interactive writing, literacy centers, and independent reading and writing. Kontovorky supported this notion, stating that reading should include read-aloud, shared reading, guided reading, and independent reading, during which students should read books at their level. The goal of these various techniques and routines is to provide differentiated instruction as a means to helping students make literacy gains in skills and meaning making. Therefore, it is agreed that a balanced literacy program is necessary, teaching skills and comprehension to the whole, and then allowing students to read at their own levels independently and in small groups through scaffolded instruction to further apply comprehension skills. There are many aspects and routines that make up the balanced literacy method. Among these routines is the guided reading framework that was first developed for New Zealand schools and made popular in American schools by Fountas and Pinnell. Since its beginnings almost 20 years ago, the program has grown and developed into an essential element of high-quality literacy education in American schools. So, what is it? Guided reading is based off the ideas of psychologist Lev Vygotsky, who believed that the student should be taught within the zone of proximal development. The ZPD is the difference between what a child can do independently and what they can do with help. Vygotsky believed that children should receive scaffolded instruction within the ZPD in order to grow and reach new levels. Fountas and Pinnell further recognized that classrooms are diverse, and thus differentiated instruction should be utilized to reach all students at their independent reading levels. They feel that it is best accomplished through the small group method, as it allows teachers to closely monitor and support, which ultimately pushes students to the next level. Guided reading combines both the systematic methods of skills-based instruction with the experiences of meaning-based instruction. To begin, there is an explicit structure for guided reading lessons, which consist of selection of text, introduction of text, reading the text, discussion of the text, teaching points, and word work. There is an optional extending understanding portion that can be implemented as well. Each of these structures was selected based on research and writing. Within the guided reading instructional framework, Fontes and Pinnell identify 12 systems of strategic activities which are utilized to help readers construct meaning within the text, about the text, and beyond the text. Therefore, the goal of the implementation of guided reading is that the reader constructs unique meanings through integrating background knowledge, emotions, attitudes, and expectations with the meaning the writer expresses. It is more than simply reading words correctly and fluently. It is about making meaning and connections. In order to make meaning and connections, many reading experts recognize that students must be able to not only read the words correctly, but they must also be interested in what they are reading. Therefore, there is a twofold method in selecting text for guided reading. The first is leveled reading. Properly leveled texts take into account language, content, and text format. This formula allows readers to effectively and successfully utilize cueing systems such as semantics, syntax, and letter-sound relationships to make meaning of what they are reading. In order for students to learn to apply reading strategies, they need texts that both support and challenge them. Fontes and Pinnell note that a level is not a score. It stands for a set of behaviors and understandings that you can observe for evidence of, teach for, and reinforce at every level. Therefore, it is important to attend to the continuum of learning when assessing students and deciding on their reading levels. Secondly, choice is taken into account. Although leveling has an important role in teaching children to read, automaticity is not the only factor in reading. Students need to be able to make connections to what they are reading in order to make meaning of the text. Fontes and Pinnell point out that they never recommended that the school library or classroom libraries be leveled or that levels be reported to parents. Instead, they believe that children should be taught the real-life skill of selecting books according to their own interests by trying a bit of the book and by noticing the topic or the author. Recently, my school decided to make the shift from providing parents and students with Fontes and Pinnell reading levels to simply letting them know if the student was performing at, above, or below grade level. With this shift came a lot of pushback from parents as they felt like we were withholding information from them that was necessary for their child to succeed. Therefore, I came into this semester wanting to better understand the research behind reading levels and how they are utilized both in the classroom and at home. The next portion of this presentation seeks to look at a proposed outline for an action research project within my school district to weigh the benefits of providing reading levels versus teaching students how to select good fit books. In many elementary classrooms across the United States, libraries are stocked with books that are stickered and arranged according to levels. Students are told their reading level and then given the opportunity to book shop from the proper baskets. They are successful at selecting books that they can read because they are selecting from pre-labeled baskets. However, what happens when these same children go to the public library to borrow a book or the local bookstore to purchase a book? Here, books are not arranged by level. Instead, they are organized by topic, author, or genre. Are these same children able to select books that they are interested in and can read? That is, are they able to select books that are a good fit for them? I am interested in knowing the answers to these questions by researching what is the difference in reading growth between students who are provided a reading level and books to read at that level, and students who are taught to use iPick to select their own good fit books. For this action research, I will utilize a quasi-experimental model as I manipulate pre-existing class groups within my school district. I will assign different treatments to different classes in order to test whether or not reading levels, iPick, or a combination of the two is best for student success in book selection and reading growth. The participants for this study will be selected from the school where I teach in Dayton, Ohio. This school is an inner-city elementary school that serves as the feeder school to an early college academy, middle school, and high school. Majority of the students who attend this school are African American and qualify for free or reduced lunch. Many of these students will be first-generation college students. This experiment will take place among the 3 third-grade classes. Class A will represent reading levels, Class B will represent good fit books, and Class C will represent a balanced approach. Data will be collected for this quantitative quasi-experiment through 2 main measures, Fontes and Pinnell benchmarking levels and student map scores. Students will be benchmarked by their classroom teachers who have all been trained to use the Fontes and Pinnell LLI leveling system. Teachers will complete running records to determine a student's independent and instructional levels. Benchmarking will occur 3 times throughout the year, fall, winter, and spring. Fall benchmarks will take place within the first 30 days of school in order to get an accurate read on where the student is academically. Winter benchmarks will take place after winter break at the close of first semester. These scores will be used as a way to track students' mid-year growth. Finally, spring benchmarks will take place during the last 30 days of school to measure the year's growth. The second measure that will be utilized to measure students' reading growth will be the NWEA Measures of Academic Performance Reading Assessment. MAP is a computerized reading assessment that tests students' reading comprehension abilities and assigns a Lexile level to their reading. Students begin at a general K3 level, and then questions increase or decrease in difficulty as students answer correctly or incorrectly, respectively. At the conclusion of the assessment, students are assigned a raw score and percentile rank. This allows teachers to see where they fall in comparison not only to other students at the school, but to other students across the country. For this experiment, MAP will be administered 3 times throughout the year, aligning with the benchmarking: fall, winter, and spring. Again, fall will occur within the first 30 days of school and serve as a means of gaining access to where a child is at the beginning of the year. Winter will take place after break, and spring will be completed in the last 30 days of school as a final measurement of growth. This assessment will allow results to be tracked across the year, but also be compared nationwide. As mentioned earlier, the participants will be divided by their homeroom classes to represent 3 areas of treatment. Group A will be instructed in leveling, Group B will be instructed in IPIC, and Group C will be instructed in both approaches. Group A will begin the year by being benchmarked. Once their independent level has been found, the teacher will conference with the student and the parents to share the level with them. The books in this classroom will all be labeled with leveled stickers and arranged in baskets accordingly. Students will be instructed in ways to book shop in order to ensure that they are selecting books at their independent levels. Lessons will still be taught at grade level, and guided reading groups will continue at their instructional level. Students will be reassessed in the winter and spring. Conferences will follow both of these benchmarking assessments to update parents and students regarding the child's growth and current reading level. Students' reading growth will be monitored and tracked throughout the year utilizing both Fountas and Pinnell leveling and MAP assessments. Group B will begin the year by being benchmarked. Once their independent level has been found, the teacher will use this level to plan for instruction. However, this will not be shared with the parents or students. Instead, the student will be taught to use the Daily 5 Good Fit Book Selection Tool, IPIC. IPIC is an acronym which stands for I look the book over inside and out. P, purpose. The book serves the correct purpose for which I am reading. I, interest. The book is one that interests me. C, comprehend. I can comprehend what is happening in the book. K, know. I know most of the words in the book. Once students are taught this method, it will be placed in the library and they will be encouraged to use it as they book shop each week. Books in this classroom will not have any leveled stickers on them. Instead, they will be arranged according to author and genre. Students will focus on selecting books which interest them and they can read, making them a good fit. Lessons will still be taught at grade level, and guided reading groups will continue at their instructional level. Students will be assessed in the winter and spring. Teachers will continue to use this data to influence instruction and allow parents and students to know if their child is reading at, below, or above grade level without knowing their specific reading level. Students' reading growth will be monitored and tracked throughout the year utilizing both Fountas and Pinnell benchmarking and MAP assessments. Group C will combine the methods of both groups. They will begin the year by being benchmarked. Once their independent level has been found, the teacher will conference with the student and their parents to share the level with them. Additionally, they will be taught the IPIC strategy and encouraged to use it when book shopping. Books in this classroom will be a combination of some leveled with stickers and some without. All books, whether leveled or not, will be arranged in baskets according to genre and author. Students will be instructed in ways to book shop in order to ensure that they are selecting books at their independent, good fit levels. Lessons will still be taught at grade level, and guided reading groups will continue at their instructional level. Students will be reassessed in the winter and spring. Conferences will follow both of these benchmarking assessments to update parents and students regarding the child's growth and current reading level. Students' reading growth will be monitored and tracked throughout the year utilizing both Fountas and Pinnell benchmarking and MAP assessments. In order to ensure that the conclusions drawn are accurate and reliable, it is important to have a defined plan of how data will be analyzed and interpreted. Therefore, I have devised a plan to analyze and interpret the data that will be collected during this action research experiment. As previously mentioned, data will be collected through the use of Fountas and Pinnell leveling benchmarks and MAP data. Growth will be tracked through 3 assessment windows: fall, winter, and spring. I will analyze the data by first comparing growth among individuals. I will calculate how many levels a student has grown from fall to spring in Fountas and Pinnell. These numbers will then be totaled and averaged for each class to find the mean level of Fountas and Pinnell leveling growth. Next, I will calculate growth for MAP data. I will utilize percentile ranks as this is the most reliable data provided by MAP. I will find the number of percentile points that each child grew from fall to winter. Again, I will average these numbers to find the mean. In addition to comparing MAP data between the classes, I will also be able to see the average year growth from the norm data provided by MAP. Once I have all of the mean data, I will compare results from the 3 classes to see if there are any differences in scores. From here, I will be able to make interpretive scores based off of my research question to identify whether it is best to tell a student their reading level, teach them to use IPIC, or instruct them using a balance of the 2 measures. Finally, I will report the data that is found. I will write the report in written form, which will be made accessible to both staff and parents. The data report will include summaries and tables of the results which are found. These visuals will make the information readily available to any reader. The tables will include comparisons of the data growth between Fontes and Pinnell leveling benchmarks and MAP. Additionally, comparisons will be made between the 3 treatment groups. The written report will consist of a detailed report which will summarize the findings in a way that both teachers and parents can understand. The results will allow teachers and staff to make decisions regarding which method they will instruct with at the school to allow for the most optimum growth among students. The data report will also allow parents to see what the best method is and why the school is making the decisions that they are. Both parties will have the confidence of knowing that the best methods are being used with the students.